The idea with this webinar is we want to cover all of the features or the features around the Invoice Manager. Now, for those who don't have Xero or don't use Xero, this is what this feature is intended for. If you do use Xero, this feature isn't quite available for you just because you have the integration with Xero, and we have created this just for non-Xero users, just based on the fact that they would like the ability to do the invoicing from Aimy. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today. So I'm just going to jump straight in here and share with you my screen. So what you're seeing here is our Invoice Manager in Aimy. Now, as you can see, this looks a lot like other accounting software. So what we've done is we've actually based it off other accounting softwares to make sure that it does meet the mark and the standard of other ones, just to make it easy to use, and so it's familiar if you've ever used another accounting software before. Okay, so what we have here is, for instance, invoice numbers. We're currently viewing all of the invoices for all terms in our site. So we've got all the invoices, the numbers, billing number, which is the booking number. So essentially the invoice number itself is a number that's attached to each individual invoice, whereas the billing number is the number of the booking that the invoice is generated from. Okay, so we've got the date against the invoice, and this again is set up by you in your settings. It can either be the start of the term or the date that the invoice is generated. Most commonly, the date that shows here is the date that the invoice has generated in the system. Okay, again, totally customizable by you in the organization page or the settings of your site. Next, we have the client's name, the child's name. So this is one of our invoice testing sites, which is why the child is called test September 13. Obviously, your children will have real names. And then we've got due date, the amount paid against the invoice, the amount due still against the invoice, and then the total amount. So what we'll start to see here is if an invoice is partially paid, the due amount will be reduced, and the paid and the due amount will add to the total, which is the amount, both the amount that's been paid and the amount that's still due on the invoice added together. Okay, and then we've got an email status here, just so we're aware of which invoices we have sent to parents and which invoices we haven't sent to parents, just so that we can follow that up. Okay, all right, so it's a pretty standard view in terms of what you can see here. Next tab is awaiting payment. Now, the awaiting payment part of the Invoice Manager is where you can start to follow up invoices that are overdue or you're waiting payment for. So a really great feature of this is the ability to filter. So we can actually filter by due date. So I've filtered here, and we can see that some of the earliest dates that our invoices are due, we can see that this invoice here was due actually last month on the 13th of September. So what we can actually start to do is prioritize those invoices which are most overdue just by ordering by due date and then following those up. Okay, so there's a bunch of filters here, so we can actually also see which, if we go due and we order by highest amount, we can see which is the most outstanding amount against an invoice, so we can start to follow up those big amounts as well. Okay, so that's just a way for you to be able to follow up all the invoices that are currently awaiting payments. Once they're fully paid, they will drop into the paid tab, which means they'll no longer show here and amongst all the other unpaid or partially paid invoices. Once they're fully paid, you'll see is this invoice is here. If I click into it, you can see this invoice is fully paid with the amount due being 0. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to jump back into the list view here. So that's our paid tab. The next tab to show you is our confirmed tab. So any invoice, any booking in Aimy, when it is confirmed, it automatically schedules invoices. So you can imagine if we confirm a booking for the current term onwards for 10 weeks, and we're only in the first week, when that booking is confirmed, it will send out the first, say you set it to weekly invoice schedules, so there's going to be 10 invoices for the whole term. It'll send the first one out, depending on how you've set up your settings, of course. That's all. That makes a big difference in how this generates. But let's just say it's for the current week. It will send out this current week's, and then the other ones will be scheduled to be sent later. And so those ones that are scheduled to be sent later all populate here in the confirmed tab. So these are all ones. So you can see this one is on the 21st of the 10th. The due date hasn't come around yet, or you can see some of these start to populate in November and December. So based on our site's billing period, these bookings haven't yet fallen into the correct billing period, so they're still in the confirm tab. As soon as it becomes the current billing period for these invoices to be paid off, they'll move into the awaiting payments tab, so that you'll actually be able to start to follow up those payments when it's the correct time, and you're not following up payments that are far in advance. Okay, so it's just a way to keep it separated and see a schedule of invoices that are to be generated for these different parents. Okay. All right, so the next thing to show you would be to, if we jump straight into an invoice here. So this one, actually, we'll go for one that isn't, yeah. All right, so we'll go for one that's awaiting payment. So there is one here for September, the 13th of September. And you'll see here, it automatically generates an invoice like this. So you can see that we have our details that are pulled through here for the parent, the description for what they're actually paying for. So we can see that for term 3, after school care part-time, week 1, that was a Tuesday, that was $9. This one we can see was a before school care on Monday, that was $8 worth. So it actually does pull through all the information, and it's very clear for a parent to see what's actually happening here on this invoice. So for us to email it to a parent, it's actually very easy. We just click the email button here, and what this will then do is it will automatically generate this. So from the current user, so this is my login, and we can change the reply to address here if we want to, and it automatically pulls through all this detail. Hi Hannah, here's the invoice for $17, and you can just include it as a PDF attachment and send that off to a parent in an email. You can also view the invoices here, and what this does is it just opens the invoice in a PDF, and you can do with that what you want. So you can download that or send that off, or otherwise you can click download PDF, which downloads it straight to your computer. Okay, so there are a bunch of functionality around there, or a bunch of options that allow you to be very flexible with what you do with your billing, so or what you do with your invoices. So say here we know that the parent has made a $10 payment against this invoice, and it was made yesterday, and we'll put the reference, let's just say credit card payment. We can actually choose which type of payment it was as well, so that shows up in this in the payment details. So we're going to select credit card and click add payment. Okay, and you can see now that the amount that was $17 shows the credit card payment of $10 and the amount due being $7. Now we can also apply credit notes here if we want to add credit to the invoice, but what we're actually just going to show you now is the add payment. Okay, just like we have done. Okay, so the next one to go to would be when you have an invoice that you want to create in the system. So if I go back to our list view for our Invoice Manager, you can see on the top left-hand side, we have this new invoice button. So if I click on this, it will actually allow me to generate an invoice in our system for any of the parents. So let's just say for Darcy, I'm going to create a charge, an admin charge. So the date, we'll set it at, let's say the 17th, yesterday's date, and we'll put it due in a couple of days time from now. And the reference being, or actually we'll put today's date as the generate date, and then the reference being admin ASC, okay? And so admin charge for ASC, cancellation of booking, for instance, if that's how you wanted to send that. And all we would do is we go unit price, say for instance you charge a $5 admin fee, and what that will then do is quantity 1, unit price 5, amount 5. So it's very standard in terms of what an invoicing system will let you do. We also have a bunch of save options, so we can save this one as a draft, save or and continue editing, save and add another. And essentially what that means is it's still an invoice, but it'll save it as a draft up until the point that we approve it. So if we cancel this one, it means the invoice that we just generated here will be lost. If we save this, like I'm going to do here, what that will then do is it'll populate in our draft section. So you can see here the one that I just created for Darcy, the $5 admin charge is sitting here. It's sitting here because we generated it. We don't want to approve it yet. At which point we decide we do want to approve it, I'll just click approve, and you'll actually see now it becomes an invoice that will be sitting in our awaiting payment section. So if I search, if I find, I'll order by the date of the invoice because I know it was today's date, which is the 18th of the 10th. As you'll see here, this is, where is it? The $5 one, 18th of the 10th. There are a bunch that are created today. Should I find it? Or -C. Okay. And we'll just go due $5, okay? So that's this one there. So we can see that one's unsent for us. We can email it, view it, or download it as a PDF, add payments. All of those functionalities are also available to invoices that you create in the system, okay? Now, the next piece of functionality that we have in here is we've actually created the ability for you to send statements to parents. So if we click send statements, we can actually send a parent their how much they're outstanding in a statement. So I'm just going to select the big date range here to make sure we catch a bunch of records and click update. So you can see here that for Darcy, Ruby, and Hannah, we have statements that are ready to be sent. So it shows an outstanding balance and how much of that is overdue. So we can set the type being any activity. So that's any outstanding balance and overdue amount, or amount owed. And then we can also set it as outstanding, which is outstanding as at a certain date, okay? So we're just going to go all activity, for instance, for a parent, and we're going to use that filter we had, date range we had before, June to 18th of October. So for Darcy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one, and I will email it to her. So it's as easy as sending an email to a parent with their statement. It automatically pulls through hi. You could put their name there if you wanted. Darcy, here's a statement for the period of 1st of June to 18th of October. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks, and it has my name there. So you do have the ability to customize this if you want to, or change the report email. But other than that, it does produce you very easily for you to send off to a parent. Okay, we can also print off these statements, so you can see here to show all the records, all the invoices, the references, due dates, invoice amounts, any payments that are against them. So we can see here there's no payments, and then there's a balance at the end with $593. Okay, so that's a really easy way to produce Aimy statements from Aimy's Invoice Manager. All right, so the last thing I'll do is I will explain the process to you for making sure that your accounts and your third-party accounting are reconciled with your records here. So essentially, the way it will work is, the idea with the Invoice Manager is you do all your invoicing from the Invoice Manager. Now, you may have a third-party accounting system which you use to do all your end-of-year accounts and all your profit and losses and everything like that, all your expenses. You want to be able to make sure that the invoices in here, the total amounts match the amounts that are in your accounting system, just so that they line up and that they match. So I will explain the process to you here. What I've done is I've created a flow. Let me change to this Word document so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so what you can see here is the reconciliation process between Aimy and and your third-party accounting software. Now, what we will do is we'll put this process online for you to follow later in our support center. But essentially, what this is a parent will book into Aimy Plus, and admin confirms booking. So as you would normally do, Aimy would invoice a parent, and Aimy invoices parent and sends email. Excuse the spelling mistake, and sends email to the parent letting them know that the invoice is confirmed. Parent will then pay their invoice, and that money will show in the bank account, okay? So that's no different to how you would probably have been doing it in Aimy, is you just send the parents the ability to pay into your bank account, or maybe by credit card or FPOS, however it is, that money will then show as records in your bank account, okay? Now what we suggest you do is, I'm just going to pop back to our Google Chrome here. Now, we recommend that you then manually input these payments into the Invoice Manager. So what you would then do is you would go through your bank records. So you would do this, for instance, once a week, or depending twice a week, however you want to do it. And what that would then mean is that you would have to manually do it. It would be a manual process, but it means that all your payments would be recorded in Aimy Plus. So if we go into here, and we will go to one of these invoices. So say, for instance, this one, we can see that the other $7 has been paid by bank transfer. Payment type bank transfer, and it was paid yesterday. Okay, so we'll add payment. And you'll see, so what you will do is essentially go through your list of invoices, and with your invoices on one side, your bank account, or bank details on the other, or bank statement, and you will then make sure that all the payments into your bank account match the payments that are added to the Invoice Manager, okay? And what that will then do is all the payments are then recorded in Aimy Plus. Now what we have done is we have added, with the coming of release 1.8, a list of new reports for the invoicing in Aimy, okay? Which is going to make this job a whole lot easier for you. So I'm going to show you a sneak peek of a few of our invoice reports that we've got here. So for instance, we've got an accounts receivable report, which will be coming to you. Also a GST report for if you do your GST based on invoices or based on payments. Those are both coming into the system as well. So that's going to provide a lot of visibility for you going forward, okay? What we will show you, what I want to show you here is the invoice report. So if I click on this, I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm just going to share the desktop view here. So you should actually see now the invoice report generating. So if I click on invoice, okay. One thing to keep in mind, this is a testing environment. So if it's slow, it's not because of any bug in Aimy. It's just because our test server is slightly slow, but cool. So you'll see here that we've got a report produced for all our customers for term 4. And what this will then do, so I will actually, instead of term 4, let's just go for the whole of October. Let's just do October. So actually September for the previous month. So the idea with this is you will go and produce a report for a month at a time. For instance here, run report. So we have now the September amounts. We will then export this. So I'll export it to Excel. And you'll be able to see that here in a second. So what this will now do is it will give me a number, $27,994.78. That is the total amount of invoice value in our system. What we will do with this number is we will add this number as a journal entry into our accounting software, okay? Or whatever accounting system you use, you'll add it as a journal entry. And then obviously your credits will go into your control, and the corresponding debits will go into the debtors account. So that's something you might have to do with your accountant or your bookkeeper, but adding it as a journal entry into your accounting system would be the step to go from here. So we can add the total amount and then the amount paid to date. So this is $1,400 of this have been added as payments to this $27,000. We can put this as manual entries into our accounting system, and what that will then do is it means that the totals for the month of September in Aimy, so this is the total for the numbers in Aimy, will then match, because you've added them as a record in your accounting software, they'll match the records that you have in that third-party accounting software. Okay, so that's essentially the process around it. If I go back to here, yeah, you'll see here, this is a journal entry into the control account of your accounting software. All right. So essentially, that's the way that we recommend that you do that, and it means when you come to do that, when it comes to the end of year account, it means that for every month you'll be able to see the correct amount billed for each month, and then you can then again see the payments against those months in your accounting system as well. Okay.